Hello everyone, welcome to Daily News Simplified, the what, why and how of newspaper reading from UPSC Civil Services examination perspective. Now today we have taken the New Delhi edition of the Hindu newspaper dated 20th January 2023. These are the list of the news for today's discussion and the timestamp has been provided in the YouTube description. So on this note, let's start our today's discussion from UPSC Prelims and Mains perspective. Hello everyone. UPSC Prelims examination has been scheduled on 28th May 2023, and to assess your preparation level, we at Rao's IAS Study Circle has come up with the Pre-Pareekshan 2023 Prelims test. Now this test will not only help you to identify your gaps, but it will also help you to revise your basics, that is core, and also the current aspects. Now you need to register yourself to appear for the Pre-Pareekshan 2023. And there will also be a live session for the discussion or analysis of the test. Now this live session will be conducted on 30th January 2023. And to know more about the Pre-Pareekshan test, you can go through the link which has been provided in the YouTube description. So what are you waiting for? Do register yourself to appear for the Pre-Pareekshan 2023 to be conducted by Rao's IAS Study Circle. Now let's start our discussion with this important editorial on page number 8, which mentions the aspect of fact-checking by PIB, any central government agency or any department of the central government. So this news highlights that the PIB might be good at checking facts, but it cannot be the sole arbiter of truth. So basically, the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology has proposed an amendment in the IT rules, whereby it allows or empowers PIB, any central government agency or department of the central government to take down or remove any news or information from the internet if such news are either fake or misleading, or if such news or information wrongly highlights about any government schemes or policy. And this decision of the ministry is in order to promote open, safe, trusted and accountable internet, and also to empower the digital Nagriks. So as of now, the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology has invited comments on the amendment proposed in Rule 3(1)(b) Clause 5. So we need to understand what this amendment is and how it will impact the press and also social media platforms. Now here you need to know that the aspect of fact-checking by PIB has been initiated since December 2019. And the aim of this fact-checking is to counter misinformation, particularly on government policies and schemes. So if you go to the website of PIB, then on the right hand side you will find this aspect of fact check. And if you open this portal, then you find the list of websites providing fake or false information or misleading information. So it's important to understand that what this proposed amendment seems to highlight and also achieve. But before that, let's understand about certain important terms such as intermediary or significant social media intermediaries. Now, social media intermediary means an intermediary which primarily or solely enables online interaction between two or more users and allows them to create, upload, share, disseminate, modify or access information using its services. And significant social media intermediary means social media intermediaries having number of registered users in India above a threshold notified by the central government, and the central government has notified a threshold of 50 lakh registered users. So based on this understanding, this amendment proposes that any social media intermediary, including news organizations, online publishers, social media platforms or online gaming platforms, so these online intermediaries should not update, publish, host, display, upload, modify, transmit, store, or even share any false or misleading information or such content which may deceive or mislead the recipients. And in order to ensure the veracity or the truth of the information, the central government has empowered PIB, any central government agency or any department of the central government to declare such information as fake or misleading, which can then be taken down from the internet. So Rule 3, under which amendments have been proposed of the IT rules, mentions about due diligence by an intermediary. And it says that an intermediary, including social media intermediary, significant social media intermediary, and online gaming intermediary. So these terms have been added according to the proposed amendment, shall observe the following due diligence while discharging their duties. And Rule 3(1)(b) highlights that such intermediaries shall inform its rules and regulations, privacy policies, user agreement to the user in either English or any language mentioned in the 8th schedule of the Indian Constitution or any language of their choice. And such intermediaries should not host, display, upload, modify, publish, transmit, store, update, or share any information which belongs to another person and to which the user does not have any right, is obscene, contain pornographic materials, or have pedophilic contents, is harmful to children, infringes any patent, trademark, copyright, or other proprietary rights, or deceives or misleads the addressee about origin of the message, or knowingly and intentionally communicates any information which is false. So it also mentions about deceiving the recipient of such information about the origin of such messages, or knowingly or intentionally communicate any misinformation or information which is patently false and untrue or misleading in nature. Now, these were already provided in the earlier rules, and the rules marked in blue color has been added. So this proposed amendment empowers Press Information Bureau or PIB, any central agency authorized by the central government for fact checking, or any department of the central government with respect to fact checking. So such false or misleading information which are fact checked by PIB, by any authorized agency of the central government or any department of the central government, then such information can be forced to be taken down from the social media platforms or from any other intermediaries. Now this editorial further highlights that there have been various opposition with respect to this proposal of the central government, and it has also been highlighted that such proposal may lead to censorship of the press. So let's go through some of the concerns which has been highlighted regarding this proposal of the central government. So one of the major concern highlighted is that this proposal may impact the freedom of speech and expression, as certain information which are critical of government or its policies may be forced to be taken down if they are certified as fake. So overall, this proposal may make the central government more authoritative through PIB or any other authorized central agencies which are empowered with the aspect of fact checking. Further, the problem is also about ensuring the correctness or incorrectness of the related information. So the problem is that how one will ensure about the incorrectness or correctness of the factual information. Now another concern highlighted is the problem of inherent bias, as PIB or any other fact-checking centrally authorized agency will always favor the government. So it basically goes against the idea of rule of law, as the central government deciding for itself. Further, it may stifle political views or opinions which are highlighted against the government, and overall it may impact freedom of speech and expression of various stakeholders in the society. It has been highlighted that this may lead to censorship of the press, and also the fact that it gives sweeping powers to PIB to bring down online content. So if any information has been highlighted as fake or misleading, then such information can be forced to be taken down from the internet, and this overall gives sweeping powers to the central government through PIB. So these can be said to be some of the concerns with respect to this particular proposal to empower PIB, any centrally government agency or department of the central government, to take down any news which has been highlighted as fake or misleading. Now this topic becomes important mainly from your mains perspective with respect to the aspect of governance under GS paper 2, particularly regarding government policies and interventions for development in various sectors, and also issues arising out of the design and implementation, and also under GS paper 3 regarding role of media and social networking sites in internal security challenges. Now as of now, the central government has invited comments on this proposed amendment, and some of the concerns has already been highlighted in this particular editorial. So let's wait for the comments and whether the government incorporates any suggestions regarding the proposed amendment. With this, let's take up the next news for discussion. Now let's take up this article appearing on page number 8. And this article highlights about ASER report of 2022 and also highlights the fact that the government has been laying enough emphasis on the primary schools, but not much emphasis has been laid on either on the middle schools or in the secondary or senior secondary schools. So, effectively, this article says that while policy and implementation focused on the early years in primary school, it is time to rethink strategy for India's school children who have gone past the foundational stage. As even the ASER report highlights on the reading and numeracy skills for students in the primary school. So this particular news becomes important from the perspective of social justice under GS paper 2, particularly regarding issues relating to education and also issues relating to poverty and hunger. Now this extract has been taken from Times of India. It says that while learning outcomes in the government schools have suffered, the proportion of students in class 1 to 8 attending paid tuition classes outside the school has also increased in 22 states since 2018. It further says that there are 5 states where more than half the students take paid tuition classes, with West Bengal topping the list at 73.9%. So it clearly means that the learning outcome of the schools are not enough. Hence, paid tuition classes outside the school hours is necessary for the students. Now, at the very outset, it's important to know the purpose of ASER report. Now, ASER stands for Annual Status of Education Report. So, the purpose of this report is to find out enrollment of children in rural India and also their basic learning outcomes or basic learning levels of children at district level and also across states. And the ASER report of 2022 has been released after 4 years because of COVID pandemic. Now, the major crux of ASER report of 2020 is that enrollment across India has increased, but there has been a dip in the basic learnings of students. And this dip is with respect to reading ability and also the ability to solve basic arithmetic. Now, first of all, let us look into the important highlights of the ASER report of 2022. So, as already stated, that enrollment has increased, but there has been a dip in learning outcomes. Now, with respect to increase in enrollment, it has increased from 97.2% in 2018 to 98.4% in 2022, and this is for the age group of 6 to 14 years. However, there has been a dip in learning outcomes, and this is with respect to both government schools and private schools and also for boys and girls. Now, regarding enrollment, Mizoram and Jammu and Kashmir were the only states where enrollment fell among the 28 states surveyed by ASER. Now, this report highlights that West Bengal had the highest enrollment rate in 2018 and remains the top state. In 2018, 7 states had less than 50% enrollment, and in 2022, that number fell to 2. So, clearly, enrollment across the states in India has increased. And the states with biggest increase in government school enrollment from 2018 to 2022 are Kerala, Uttar Pradesh, Telangana, Punjab, and Haryana. Now, another important highlight is that proportion of girls not enrolled in schools has decreased for girls in the age group of 11 to 14 years from 4% in 2018 to 2% in 2022. So effectively, this means that more girls has enrolled in schools. However, the 2022 reports highlight an important concern, that is drop in learning levels. Now, this learning levels is at the foundational skills, particularly with respect to reading ability and solving arithmetic. So on this note, let's look into some of the statistics with respect to foundational skills for both reading and solving arithmetic between the year 2014 to 2018. So the first parameter is for class 3 students who could read class 2 textbook. And this has increased from 26.3% in 2014 to 27.2% in 2018. The second parameter is with respect to class 3 students who could do subtraction. And this has increased from 25.3% in 2014 to 28.1% in 2018. Now this report was with respect to the period of 2014 to 2018. So if we come to 2022, basic reading ability has decreased or declined, and it has declined from 27.3% in 2018 to 20.5% in 2022, and this is a major dip. And one of the major reasons for this dip is because of closure of classes due to COVID pandemic. And this basic reading ability which has declined is for class 3 students. Now if you compare this with class 5 students, then the basic reading ability has also declined from 50.4% in 2018 to 42.8% in 2022. And if we talk about basic numeracy, that is solving arithmetic, then children who could do subtraction in 2018 was 28.2%, and this has further dipped to 25.9%. So clearly the learning outcome or the basic learning levels has decreased despite higher enrollment in schools. Now another major highlight with respect to the ASER report of 2022 is that loss in reading for children is greater as compared to loss in numeracy levels, that is loss in doing arithmetic. And the pandemic has impacted learning outcomes mainly due to the closure of schools. Now another aspect highlighted in the report is that there has been a shift of students from private schools to government schools or public schools. And the reasons include decrease in family income mainly due to COVID pandemic, as many people faced loss of jobs and this further impacted the education of their children. Another reason of shift from private to government school is closure of private schools, and this forced many children to shift to public schools or government schools. And another reason as to why children started attending more government schools as compared to private school is that some of the state governments, along with providing education, also provided midday meals ration, the learning materials, and also worksheet and textbook distribution. So because of provision of nutrition along with book materials, many parents prefer to send their children to government schools rather than sending to private schools. So overall, high enrollment of students in schools have ensured that they stay for a longer duration in the schools with respect to the overall cycle. However, the concern is that once the students shift from primary schools to middle school and then to secondary school, then the competition increases. And it is also felt that there are some students who are not able to cope up with the pressure because they are weak in basics and hence are not able to cope up with higher learnings. Now, before moving into the concerns highlighted by this article with respect to the learning, it's important to know about the division of schools in India as of now. So as of now, primary schools include schools having class 1 to 5, middle schools are class 6 to 8, secondary schools include class 9 and 10, whereas senior secondary schools include class 11 and 12. However, the new National Education Policy of 2020 has suggested certain changes with respect to the academic structure. Now, the new academic structure as suggested by NEP 2020 has divided the school curriculum into foundational school, preparatory school, middle school and secondary school. The foundational schools include 3 years of Anganwadi or preschool and 2 years for class 1 and 2. Preparatory schools are from class 3 to 5, middle schools are from class 6 to 8 and secondary schools are from class 9 to 12. So this article says that there are certain benefits and also concerns with respect to increase in enrollment of students. So the benefits include longer time period for schooling for children, as children will spend more time to complete their schooling cycles at least till class 8. So it says that completion of 8 years of schooling can be said to be one of the benefits or advantages of higher enrollment. However, there are certain concerns as well. So the concern highlighted is that since there would be more students in the middle school, hence more students will be promoted to secondary and later to senior secondary schools. And this might put additional pressure on the students. So the concern here is with respect to their learning outcomes or learning abilities. Now another set of concern highlighted in this article is regarding increased competition for post-secondary opportunities. That is limited opportunities for students particularly after class 10th and also later after class 12th, as they might face difficulty in admission into colleges, they might face difficulty to seek job opportunities and also lack of jobs for students who are leaving schools midway. So the concern highlighted in this article is that the government must focus on middle school and also on secondary school, as the basic learning of students promoted from middle to secondary schools have remained low. And such students who reach higher classes do not have appropriate foundational literacy and numeracy skills to tackle higher education. So that becomes a major concern which needs to be looked into. And for such children, it will become difficult to acquire higher learnings or skills. And this may also affect the morale or confidence of such students. And such children may be left behind as compared to other students. So the government also needs to focus on the learning outcome of secondary schools, as lower morale or confidence of students will decrease their desire for higher studies or further studies, and it will also increase stress of children because of parental pressure. Thus, this article suggests that overall there is a need to develop critical thinking for students going to middle and secondary schools. And in this regard, there is a need to refocus on middle and secondary schools so that students can work on their skills necessary for higher education, and it also boosts their confidence with respect to higher education. Now this article also mentions about Nipun Bharat scheme. So on this note, let's go through the important highlights of Nipun Bharat scheme. So this scheme has been launched by Department of School Education and Literacy under Ministry of Education in July 2021 under the aegis of centrally sponsored scheme of Samagra Shiksha. Now Nipun stands for National Mission on Foundational Literacy and Numeracy, called National Initiative for Proficiency in Reading with Understanding and Numeracy. That is Nipun Bharat. And the aims and objectives is to achieve universal foundational literacy and numeracy in primary classes, to ensure that all children attain grade level competencies in reading, writing and numeracy. And the mission also lays down priorities and actionable agendas for states and union territories to achieve the goal of proficiency in foundational literacy and numeracy for every child by grade 3. So just like Nipun Bharat, the government also needs to focus on the learning outcomes of students of middle school and secondary and senior secondary school. Thus this article becomes very important from the perspective of GS paper 2 under social justice with respect to education. Now let's take the next news appearing on page number 16. And this news highlights that United Arab Emirates is in early discussion with India to trade non-oil commodities in Indian rupees. So in this news, it's important to understand the mechanism of this trade and also the benefits of trading in Indian rupees. So here the mechanism is with respect to Vostro account. Now let's understand this through an example of trade between, say, India and Japan. So for this purpose, Japan will open an account with India's public sector bank. Say for example, Japan has opened a Vostro account with SBI. And here, to understand the mechanism, there are two cases represented. So in case 1, India imported machineries worth rupees 10 crores. And the Indian importer who imported the machineries worth 10 crores will deposit these 10 crores in the Vostro account in SBI, which is operated by Japan. So in the first case, we imported machinery from Japan and hence we need to pay Japan rupees 10 crores. So here the Indian importer deposits rupees 10 crore in the Vostro account held by Japan. Now the second case highlights that India exporting toys worth rupees 8 crores. So now Indian exporter has exported toys worth rupees 8 crores. So now Japan has to pay rupees 8 crores to Indian exporter. But there is already rupees 10 crore in the account. So these 8 crore rupees will be debited from the account. So now these 8 crore rupees will be debited from the same Vostro account which is held by Japan in India, that is in SBI. So this is how the Vostro account in Indian rupees will operate, and the same mechanism will also apply with United Arab Emirates. And in this example, still there is a balance of rupees 2 crores. And according to RBI guidelines, Japan can spend the remaining on government securities. Now generally international trade is conducted in dollars. However, countries resort to this kind of mechanism in order to save certain transaction costs. Now let's understand this through an example. So suppose both India and UAE starts trading in dollars. So what will happen is that India will pay UAE in dollars and then UAE will convert back dollars into their own currency. And similarly, this will happen again for India as well, that UAE will pay some amount in dollars, which India then will reconvert it back into their rupees. Now, this transaction generally becomes expensive because of fluctuation of dollar in the international market and also because of the incurring loss due to transactional cost. So, to save this transactional cost, countries generally enter into trading accounts with the local currencies. So this news highlights that UAE's trade deal with India aims to increase bilateral non-oil trade to $100 billion in the next 5 years. It further highlights that the large majority of Gulf trade is conducted in US dollars, but countries such as India and China are increasingly seeking to pay in local currencies for various reasons, including lowering transaction cost. So other than reduced transaction costs, there are also other benefits for India to trade in Vostro account or trade in Indian rupees, as it helps India to address geopolitical shock, as these shocks may impact the value of dollar. And as of now, India is trading in rupees with Russia, Sri Lanka and also Mauritius. Further, such international transaction helps the continuity of trade relation, especially in the backdrop of US sanctions against certain countries such as Russia. So trade in Indian rupees not only saves transaction cost for India and also the other country, but it also allows continuity of trade. And lastly, it also helps to improve the credibility of Indian rupee in the international market. So these can be said to be some of the benefits with respect to trading in Vostro accounts or trading in Indian rupees. Now, despite certain benefits, there is one major concern here. And this concern is especially with respect to such countries with whom India has higher trade deficit. So this means that we are importing more as compared to we are exporting to these countries. Now suppose, for example, India imports goods worth 1000 crores from Japan but exports goods worth only 20 crores. Now this creates a greater trade deficit and it becomes difficult to balance out such greater trade deficit. So such Vostro account becomes difficult to be maintained, especially with such countries with whom we run larger trade deficit. That is where our import is much more as compared to our export. Now this topic becomes important as question in your prelims can be asked with respect to the aspect of Vostro account. Now another set of account other than Vostro account is the Nostro account. Now here India will open an account in the Japanese bank and the trade will carry on in Japanese currency. So this becomes India's Nostro account. So this topic of Nostro account and Vostro account becomes important mainly from the perspective of economy in the prelims examination. Now let's take up this news appearing on page number 12. And this news highlights about the National Export Cooperative Society. So this news highlights that National Export Cooperative Society to trade nano fertilizers and dairy products in 3 months. So the Union Cabinet has given its approval to establish 3 national level multi-state cooperatives under the Multi-State Cooperative Societies Act of 2002. And these 3 national level multi-state cooperatives are: first, National Multi-State Cooperative Export Society; second, National Multi-State Cooperative Organic Society; and third, National Level Multi-State Seed Cooperative. So this particular news on page number 12 highlights about the National Export Cooperative Society or the National Multi-State Cooperative Society. And this particular news on page number 12 highlights about the first, that is National Multi-State Cooperative Export Society. So this news highlights that this will be established under the Multi-State Cooperative Societies Act of 2002. And its promoters are Indian Farmers Fertilizer Cooperative Limited, that is IFCO, Krishak Bharati Cooperative Limited, National Agricultural Cooperative Marketing Federation of India, that is NAFED, Gujarat Cooperative Milk Marketing Federation, better known as AMUL, and National Cooperative Development Corporation. And each of these promoters will contribute rupees 100 crores each, and the authorized share capital for National Export Cooperative Society will be 2000 crores. And its area of operation will be all over the country. And this will be the largest of the 3 proposed national cooperative societies to be established under the Multi-State Cooperative Societies Act of 2002. And this news highlights that nano fertilizers produced by IFCO and dairy products from AMUL will be among the first few products which are expected to be exported by the first ever National Multi-State Cooperative Export Society. So clearly there are certain benefits to establish these multi-state cooperative societies. And these benefits are: first, the farmers or other agriculture who are associated with these multi-state cooperative societies will be able to reap the benefits of government schemes on export. So it says that this proposed society will also help cooperatives in getting benefits of various export related schemes and policies of different ministries of Indian government in a focused manner. The second set of benefit is that it will provide a thrust to exports. So this proposed society will provide thrust to exports from cooperative sector by acting as an umbrella organization for carrying out and promoting exports, as this will help to unlock the export potential of Indian cooperatives in the global markets. The third benefit is inclusive growth model. So this will also help in achieving the goal of Sahkar se Samriddhi through the inclusive growth model of cooperatives, where the members would benefit both by realization of better prices through export of their goods and services, and also by distribution of dividend earned out of surplus generated by these societies. Another set of benefit is that it will lead to more employment generation. So it says that higher exports through the proposed society will increase production of goods and services by the cooperatives at various levels, thereby leading to more employment in the cooperative sector. And processing of goods and enhancing the services to match the international standards will also help to generate additional employment. And lastly, it will focus on the aspect of Atmanirbhar Bharat, as increased export of Indian products will in turn promote Make in India, thereby leading to Atmanirbhar Bharat. So these multi-state cooperative societies will be different from Export Promotion Council established under the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, which only acts as a facilitator and provides information about potential markets which can be tapped for a particular product. So rather than that, these multi-state cooperative societies will help the farmers and it will benefit them in the following manner. Thus, this article becomes important mainly from the perspective of economy, and questions can be asked both in your prelims and mains examination under GS paper 3. Now, this particular topic regarding a decade of POCSO Act has been discussed in detail by Faizan sir on the DNS dated 27th November 2022, where he has discussed about various concerns with respect to the implementation of POCSO Act. So you can go through the DNS dated 27th November, for which I have provided the link in the YouTube description. With this, we come to an end to today's discussion. Thank you for watching DNS.